Usually I'm not one for keeping up with the seasons as they air, but a successful anime YouTube channel without such is difficult. So here I am to blather on about 14 of the 29 anime I've watched from the fall 2017 season, and more often than not, suffered through. Let's just kick this off with the biggest new anime of the season, Black Clover, aka the story of Asta and Yuno, two boys orphaned on the steps of a church when they were babies. In their world, magic is commonplace, and the majority of people receive a grimoire when they turn 15. Right away, these two are a mixture of a lot of familiar sights in shonen. Asta is spiky-haired, has no innate skill for magic, meanwhile living in a world full of skill. He attempts to make up for this by yelling at the top of his lungs like an obnoxious buffoon, all the while pretty much substituting his lack of magic for just brute force. His quote-unquote rival, meanwhile, Yuno, is a typical prodigy. You can pretty much predict who these two characters are aping most by merely looking at the main promo image and that brief description I just gave. If you need further information, well, Yuno is also dark-haired and mopey, while Asta is blonde-haired and kind of dumb. Yeah, you should be getting it by now, it's Naruto and Sasuke, just mixed in with dashes of a lot of other shonen, most notably fairy tales humor, which I kind of hate. They're really just worse versions of the kind of decent characters we already know, with bad comedy that really just amounts to Asta shouting to substitute for actual jokes. Like, I'm not kidding when I say 90% of Asta's lines are just screamed at the top of his lungs. I get that shonen anime can all seem very similar at the start if you don't give it much thought, but this feels like a B-tier attempt at the next big shonen thing. It's a greatest hits of Shonen Jump via the anime industry equivalent of a cover band. Not a single aspect stood out to me as anything more than bog standard, except for the lone giant horned skull looming over the village that kinda looks like it's out of Doom. All this negativity said, I will be watching another episode. Black Clover is going to be one of the most talked about anime of the season no matter what, and I have some misplaced desire as a critic to stay relevant. Hey, it's another one of those transported to another world isekai garbage shows. This time we follow a young girl who is warped into another world of not only humanity, but vampires and other such mythical creatures, who belong to several warring factions. The really impressive thing about Sengoku Nightblood is how it subverts the entirety of mankind's efforts of lullabies, sleeping potions, and NyQuil by inventing the best method to catching some Z's yet. A non-stop 24-minute episode of introducing a lineup of pretty boys because this is 100% a harem setup via only their names and maybe one brief and broad character trait. What a shit-awful way of making the cast memorable. Like, I remember a few with the ears and tails, I think, but even they just keep tagging in one after another in the lamest manner possible. 2 or 3 characters will pop up on screen stating each other's names and a soul-defined trait like being brooding or starry-eyed. And then another will come along, and they'll all remark about what a coinky-dink it is to run into you here, person with a name that I forget because why would I recall any of these 10,000 bozos? All I really got out of Sengoku Nightblood is that this girl's about to get into one kinky-ass gangbang. Well then. So yeah, dropping this hot street trash. Do you like this? Or how about this?
メンタルはすでに大事件になってますわ。が、この戦士普通にできますわね。
I sure as hell do. Junitai-sen is a battle royale bloodbath about the 13 Chinese zodiac signs who are all world-class warriors murdering each other in a grindhouse fashion. It is a truly schlocky good time. It's violent and edgy, but not in an insufferable fashion. The first episode focuses in on the boar and her upbringing as an assassin. And it just shows this dark descent she has from being passed up on as the favored member of the family for her younger sister, who she then proceeds to manipulate into becoming a murdering, vicious machine that wants nothing more to kill and breaks her, leaving who we call now the boar to be the only one ready for the tournament. The character designs are pretty great, especially the rabbit, which I already pointed out. It's just so lovably trashy. And thankfully, as a primarily action-based show, it has some incredible animation. The training scene with the boar kind of reminds me of Ghost in the Shell, not that degree of great, but a similar style. We haven't really gotten to know many other characters, but the brief moments we have of them are so far interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing them all just murder the shit out of each other. So I'm definitely going to be continuing Juni Taisen. As you might have gleaned from my new game video, I'm not one for the cute girls doing cute things genre, unless it's something special. Fuck you, Mal. You done screwed up on this one. Urahara has enough of a batshit crazy premise to keep me interested. It follows a group of young girls defending Harajuku, a fashion and cultural centerpiece of Tokyo. They're fighting off aliens who are incapable of creating their own culture, so they steal from others. All the while they get support from a talking fried shrimp who gives the girls powers much like a magical girl anime. There's also a weird live-action fried shrimp post-credits spouting random facts, and I kind of love it. Urahara boasts a vibrant color scheme and a busy aesthetic reflective of Harajuku's equally boisterous culture. I like the sketch vibe it has. There's something about much of digital animation being too crisp, too technically perfect, and it's nice to get art that feels more distinct and human. Tack on an Elmo Cat ending bumper, and yeah, this is a surprising little gem that so many Mal users have bad, wrong, and frankly criminal opinions about. And now for a how-to on what not to do when making a cute girls doing cute things anime. Konohana Kitan isn't a terrible show. There will be a contingent of people who will love it for how adorable they think it is, and it totally can be. The show follows Yuzu, a fox girl who gets a job at an inn ran by other fox girls. It's a comfy slice of life. Trouble is, all these girls are standard stuff. Take a good look. In what way, shape, or form do they stand out amongst countless other cute anime girls? Even fox girls? None. The same can be said of their checklist personalities and the comedy which revolves around them. For example, when Yuzu arrives at the end, she has her clothes forcibly removed and an older fox girl makes the cliched remark about, "You're a small girl, but your boobs sure are big." Konohana Kitan frankly follows the wrong characters. Truly, the protagonist should be this bossy mouse and the pipe-smoking wolf. This is an easy, if not horrendous, drop. From manga author Yasuhiro Naito, creator of Trigun, Blood Blockade Battlefront is a show that deserves a second chance. Not that Season 1 isn't enjoyable, just that some missteps with the overarching drama and the finale being delayed for months hurt what could have been a fantastic time. Now that that plot is resolved and hopefully no production issues arise, Season 2 looks primed for greatness. In a world where one cynical creation after another bleeds together, I really appreciate so much style, attitude, and uniqueness. It's something you can only get from a creator like Naito, who is capable of making memorable worlds and populates them with unforgettable characters. BBB has that same urban chaos Durarara is known for. The otherworldly creatures populating New York alongside humans make it seem like nothing could possibly sustain life in this constant ruckus. Really, it's all a metaphor for living in a big city, where seemingly every day something crazy is happening, but the abnormal always becomes normal. I'm happy BBB is back and off to a strong start, especially when things like this next one exist. Lord, end my suffering. A Sister Is All You Need might just be worse than Aramanga Sensei for all the same reasons, but exaggerated uncomfortably so. Fuck this shit. Do we really need any more anime about some aspect of anime? Was this really necessary? Is the industry already not so self-referential and insular that it's become a circle jerk over the corpse of this off-isolated medium? I suppose that might be a tad harsh, but the answer is still no. Not unless you are special like one of the show's referenced in Animegataries, that being Shirobako. From the directionless high school youth who looks towards school clubs that will ultimately be the focus of the show, to the scene of the protagonist Asagaya waking up late and rushing to get ready, to the prim and proper classmate who has a secret anime-loving otaku side, or the references to other anime and otaku culture. Because hey anime fan, we get you. We know they My Hero Academias. We know what otome is. Slice of life, got your back there on that one, fellow anime fan. There is a bright spot towards the end, some mysterious stuff happens, and then there is a sinister looking talking cat. I really don't see that salvaging the show though. Unless I hear it gets really good, this will stay on my drop list. And now back to cute girls doing cute things done right. Girls' Last Tour follows Chito and Yuri, two girls wandering the land after humanity has wiped itself out due to a war very similar to World War II. The setting keeps a surreal tone, what with Yuri wearing a German army helmet while Chito has a British helm, all the while traversing a destroyed industrialized city similar to the Eastern Front in Russia, something like Stalingrad where no building went untouched. But then they're traveling through an underground factory for so long they've lost count of days. This otherworldly tone jives well with the Ayashike style, a genre known for a lack of deep plot progression and having more of a singular emotion at a time and relaxing nature overall. It's just peculiar enough to keep you intrigued for what's around the corner, but grounded so the messages are relatable to our own world. It gets strangely dark at times and then has a total reversal, and plenty of humor is thrown in between these two great characters. Because smart bet is on Chito and Yuri being the only faces we see, and that's fine by me. There's a good chemistry between Chito's straight man persona and Yuri's more carefree approach. In terms of premieres, this is the best I've seen this season. Umaru-chan had a decent first season despite being couched in a lot of the moe cute fluff I criticize. Umaru's split personality of being the perfect girl at school, what with her grades, athleticism, and kind-heartedness contrasted with her at-home life made for a fair few good goofs. It really harps on the idea of us having presentable personalities to the outside world, but when we get home, we become selfish, slovenly bums playing video games and watching TV all day. And that's pretty much what Season 2 appears to be, for better and mostly worse. It's a joke that worked fairly well for 12 episodes, and while I don't think the quality has dipped, I've little interest in laughing along anymore. For now it's a drop, but maybe I'll come back to it someday. When Garo Vanishing Line starts up with a blood-red moon and trance beat going, zooming in on a woman trapped in a rooftop water tower, a nightmarish creature that could fit right in a Guillermo del Toro film peers down at her just as a hero announces his arrival to the backing of some thrashing metal. It was then I thought, this could be damn good. I didn't maintain such a high level of optimism through the end, but I came away from the premiere confident this could be a good action romp. It should absolutely be noted that from the visuals, coloring, character design, direction, storyboarding, animation, music choice, all the bits that make up a production are very well handled. Even the abundance of CG in the fights or the motorcycle of the hero looks good and is adeptly put to use for the most part. The shaky, fast-paced action means you hardly get time to observe any of the finer details or roughness. What cooled me on Garo is the story. I like the notion of hellish creatures brutally killing in the night of a semi-futuristic city, but the main dude, Sword, has as much depth as you'd expect from a musclehead named after a weapon. The girl who he ends up meeting isn't much better. Neither are bad, but I'm expecting mostly good action and a pretty forgettable story. This one goes on the continue watching list though. That's pretty much the one and only gimmick of Two-Car. This is another one of those cute girls doing cute things anime, but I presume with a more purposeful plot. That being the two main girls competing in tournaments in hopes of winning the big one. It does all the trappings of the genre I've been ripping on this whole video better than most. That's not saying much though. The chemistry between each duo is kind of a clever tactic to take advantage of the sport, and most of the humor lands. It's just one of those exhale through your nose sorts of reactions ultimately. And whoever worked on the engine noises of the bike obviously has a passion for them because they sound real good. I'm going to keep watching, but Two-Car strikes me as something I'd have preferred as a 3 or 4 episode OVA or ONA, and as a result will be dropping soon. Here we go again, another boilerplate anime with a focus on moe girls, a slice of life setup, and pulling the exact same jokes as the 800 tried, trite, and tired entries of its ilk this year alone. It was at this point in my marathoning I began to glaze over and shortly thereafter feel the urge to drink myself into a coma in hopes that this trend would die off before I would in a near vegetative state. This is another Konohana Kitan, this is another Anime Gatories, another you know the exact type of show I'm talking about. Unlike Girls Last Tour, Urahara, or even Two-Car, there is nothing here delineating Blend S from the sea of flaming gonorrhea piss that the genre often is. All of these jokes have been made before. Hell, these scenes have been ripped wholesale. Girl finds a cat in the street, tries to be friendly and calls it over. Negative reaction from the cat. Ha 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 ha. Jokes! Dude is creepy, gets flying kicked by the responsible one. The bubble cut in from off-screen characters. The girls that look like they're 8 but are actually the manager. LOL classic comedy. Come and get your hot jokes here, they got 'em here at Blend S. Line on up where the jokes won't stop coming until you fucking bleed from your throat due to hours and hours of non-stop laughter. Fuck this. Let's get to the last anime on the docket. Ending on a high note? Nope. Infini-T Force is best at making you think, why watch this when the multiple source materials being used in this crossover seem far more interesting? I'll give it the CG isn't terrible, which I would hope seeing how that's the entirety of it. The environmental design feels barren at times, and models are done in a style that looks dated. Story-wise, there is nothing going on here. It comes off as a basic superhero crossover narrative. Meanwhile, the main girl is so ham-fistedly written. Her defining characteristic is sad, and we know this because she's seen crossing out hope, happiness, family, and glad in the dictionary. That's the shit we're dealing with here. There's nothing convincing me I have to watch this over Gatchaman, Hurricane Polymer, Tekkaman, or finally getting around to Kashurn's Sins. Infini-T Force is firmly on the drop list. So that's it for this half of my fall 2017 anime impressions. The next batch should be up shortly after, and this is where I'll be discussing the return of Kino's Journey, Land of the Lustrous, Food Wars, and much more. As always, like, subscribe, all that nonsense, it is very much appreciated. I do try to get up a video per week. Don't hold me to it though, I'm not a professional. Though hey, if you support me in this matter, maybe I will be someday.